It stood on the edge of the forest like something the world had forgotten. Blackridge Castle. No signs, no tourists, no reason to go there, unless you already knew what you were looking for. The locals didn't talk about it much. When they did, their voices lowered. Not out of superstition, but something closer to caution. Because places like Blackridge don't stay empty by accident. Mara Voss had spent months chasing a pattern no one else seemed to notice. Missing shipments, disappearing people. Financial records that didn't just look wrong, they looked deliberately buried. Every trail ended the same way, cut off, erased, or redirected. Until one detail slipped through, a location that shouldn't have mattered anymore. Blackridge Castle. The road leading there was barely visible, swallowed by overgrowth and neglect. Mara's car sat half-hidden behind a line of dead trees as she stepped out into the cold night air. No streetlights, no sound, just wind moving through the branches like a whisper. She checked her phone. No signal, of course. Blackridge didn't want to be found. The gates were already open when she reached them. That was the first sign something was wrong. The second was the faint glow coming from inside. You really didn't think to wait for backup? Mara didn't flinch. She recognized the voice instantly. Backup stopped returning my calls weeks ago, she replied. Elias Rook stepped out from the shadows, adjusting his coat like he belonged there. Like this was just another routine investigation. He'd always had that effect. Calm, controlled, predictable. That's what made him easy to trust. What you're chasing, he said, it's bigger than you think. Mara looked at him. Then why did you follow me? A pause. Because you weren't going to stop? That was true. She never did. Inside, the castle felt wrong, not abandoned. Paused. Dust covered the surfaces, but the floor told a different story. Footprints. Recent ones. The air carried a faint mechanical hum. Low, steady, deliberate. Mara moved deeper, her flashlight cutting through darkness. The financial activity spikes once a month, she said. Same time, same structure. It's organized. Elias followed a step behind. Organized doesn't mean it's here. It means it's hidden, Mara said. And this place, it's perfect. They reached the main hall, ruined, open to the sky, moonlight pouring in through broken stone. But at the far end, a door, intact, locked. It didn't take long to force it open. Behind it, a narrow staircase spiraled downward. The temperature dropped instantly. Stone turned to concrete. Old turned into something else. The deeper they went, the louder the hum became, until finally, light, artificial, harsh, alive. The underground chamber stretched wider than the castle above could ever suggest. Rows of crates, metal tables, equipment still running. This wasn't a hideout. It was an operation. Mara opened the nearest crate. Documents, drives, records, proof. Human trafficking routes, she whispered. Financial laundering, identities. This is massive. She turned, adrenaline rising. We need to call this in right now. Elias didn't respond. Not immediately. When Mara looked up, she saw the gun, pointed directly at her. For a moment, nothing made sense, then everything did. No, she said quietly. Elias didn't look surprised. You weren't supposed to find this place, he said. Mara shook her head, stepping back. You've been slowing the investigation, redirecting leads. Protecting it, he corrected. The word hit harder than anything else. People are disappearing, Mara said. You knew that. I know exactly what's happening. And you're part of it? Elias exhaled slowly, like he'd already accepted what came next. You think this is just crime? He asked. This is structure, control, the kind of system that doesn't collapse just because someone like you finds a thread. Mara's voice tightened. So you just joined them? I adapted. Silence filled the space between them, heavy, final. You could walk away, Elias said. Right now. Forget you ever saw this. Mara didn't hesitate. No. A flicker of something crossed his face. Disappointment. Then you leave me no choice. The gunshot echoed through the chamber like a thunderclap, then another. And then silence. Elias staggered first. He looked down at the dark stain spreading across his chest, confusion breaking through his composure for the first time. Mara stood several feet away, her own weapon still raised, hands shaking. I didn't want this, she said, her voice barely holding. Elias let out a weak breath, almost a laugh. You were always too honest. He collapsed against the cold concrete and didn't move again. By the time authorities arrived, Blackridge Castle was no longer forgotten. Lights flooded the ruins. Vehicles lined the road. Voices filled the silence that had protected the place for years. Inside, they found everything. The records, the network, the names. Some of them powerful enough to shake entire institutions. Mara Voss became the story overnight. The officer who uncovered it all. The one who didn't back down. The one who survived. But there was one detail no report could explain. One thing Mara couldn't shake. Because Elias hadn't acted like a man in control. He hadn't tried to escape. Hadn't tried to bargain. He had come there for one reason, to stop her, which meant one thing. He wasn't the one in charge. Weeks later, long after the headlines faded, Mara returned to Blackridge. Alone. The castle stood just as it had before, silent, watching. But this time, she noticed something she hadn't before. High on one of the remaining towers, a faint reflection. Glass. A lens. Someone had been watching that night. Watching the investigation. Watching Elias. Watching her. And if they were still watching, then Blackridge Castle was never the center of it. Just another piece. Because the most dangerous networks don't disappear when exposed. They evolve, they adapt, they rebuild. Somewhere else. And somewhere, in the dark, unseen and untouched, someone was already pulling the strings again.